Hi, good day, and I'm Michael. I'm the moderator for today's session. It's an initiative by Invest Penang and Job Street Malaysia in collaboration with Penang State Government for career exploration week, My Mid Penang and My Workplace. So I'll take you through this session for an hour, and this session will be covering few topics, and I have two of the esteemed panelists from the industry. So I'll introduce you on the way. Okay, so the topic for today is yesterday, now, and tomorrow, how roles have evolved. So each position in a company has its own interesting journey, specialization, and prospects. So as the technology grows, jobs and its nature has evolved tremendously. So be excited to hear from the experienced panels from the industry, as this focus session will expose more on jobs and its specific career. So please allow me to welcome two of my panelists from the industry. Ms. Hou Mi Mi, she is the Asia Pacific and Japan Talent Acquisition Director from Penang, and Mr. Noor Izwan Mohamad, Senior Manager Operational Excellence, B.Braun Group, Penang. I will take an opportunity for them to introduce themselves. How about their career journey in the next half an hour? Over to you, Ms. Mimi.
All right. Hey, first of all, thanks to Invest Penang and Job Street for inviting me as one of the panel speakers. It's my honor to be having the session alongside Michael and also Mr. Izwan. So more about me, I joined Intel 22 years ago, so it's a pretty long time, right? Right after my graduation from UTM. I started off as an engineer and had the opportunity to rotate to different engineering roles supporting manufacturing, where I have learned complex problem solving in the engineering world, data analysis capability, program management, and delivering results through people. I then made a bold decision to move to HR after 6 years in engineering, realizing my strength and passion in people. And within HR, I've done quite a number of rotations as well that cover regional and global roles in different parts of HR functions. And currently, I'm leading the Asia Pacific and Japan talent acquisition team, which includes Malaysia. Over to you, Mr. Izwan.
Thanks, Mimi. Hi, my name is Izwan. I mean, that's most people call me. Yeah. So like me, because Mimi was saying that she's been with Intel for 22 years, and just let you guys know, like actually Intel was my first job. I started off in Intel, but that was in 2005 as a development engineer. Right after I graduated master's degree in EE from University of Science Malaysia. So yeah, so like I said, like Intel's like my first love. I still remember my worldwide ID is 107058875.
Okay.
Yeah. So remember till today, because it's like first love. You see, you remember it for the rest of life. I learned a lot from Intel, a lot of good practices, and kind of built me up. Yeah. So be working with many different industries. Right after Intel, I decided to move on. I moved on to Flex, the contract manufacturing. Just wanted to learn more, see more of the processes, all that. And that's when I discovered the wonders of Lean Six Sigma. And I decided from a process engineer, process development engineer, and decided to change my whole function or role to operation excellence. But in Flex, they call it business excellence. So yeah, went for the training, got my certification. So started leading the business excellence team for the Penang site in Flex. Learned a lot from there. And that's when an opportunity came in that at first I was quite worried, very skeptical, but I decided to, hey, okay, I'll take the opportunity to do it. So I moved on to Air Asia, but on the global shared service side, because at that time shared service is something very new. Not at that time, not many people know what is shared services. So I was thinking, okay, just gonna try to do it. So learn more different things, learning a lot about more on the business side of it, right? I mean, I was doing continuous improvement. I was head continuous improvement in the shared services line, but get to learn more about the business side of it. That's the best part about working at Asia, and getting to meet different people, different backgrounds, and a lot of innovation at the time with Asia when I was there. Then I went on to medical industry, move on to Johnson & Johnson. Thereafter, I was with HP, and now I'm with B.Braun currently. Yeah, so it's been a long journey. All that, yeah. So back to you, Michael.
Thank you so much, both, for explaining your career journey in detail. Ironically, today we all three are engineering background. So I will also take this opportunity to introduce a bit about my career journey. I am a computer science engineer. I have graduated myself from India, so from Anna University, one of the technical university in India. Yes, over the period of years, as Miss Mimi realized that she likes people interaction. So I also realized it after maybe doing C++ programming for quite some time in my life. And I decided that, okay, this is maybe not my cup of tea, although I have done my engineering. Received an offer from IBM as my first job. However, I decided against it. There was an opportunity given to me by one of the startups. It was a bold move against the parents' will, because they have always seen us as engineers in a very a world of engineering at that point of time. So I took that bold move and then moved on to this startup to learn everything. I think I learned marketing, sales, and etc. And moving on, then I started my own company. I started my own company doing website designing and etc. Never a good businessman, because it was only 27 years of age, when I started my own company. And then there was an opportunity for me to work for a small firm who only focus on semiconductors hiring. And that's why I like this idea, because I can use my academics into a job which requires my skill. So I think I learned from that small boutique firm. And since then, it has been a roller coaster journey. I was headhunted by Randstad along the way. And I was on site for Agilent, Keysight, and then, Malaysia calling. They called me in 2015. They told me that they would like to have a technical team to be set up. And since then, I have been Malaysia, more like a Malaysian now, last 5 years. Now taking care of 3 divisions. I've grown in my company. Our company has gone through a JV also. It's a US and Japanese, known as Persolkelly. And I'm taking care of 3 divisions: IT, engineering, and business support functions. So we cover it all. I have around 26 consultants under me. So I just take care of them. Too much of operations, too much of sales, and too much of people interaction. So I do. And I just want to also tell you something about engineers, right? Somebody told me, who is an engineer? So we used to always give a technical answer, but he told me anyone who has a pencil in his pocket is an engineer, because they're always inquisitive. Yeah. I mean, if you see a person who has a pencil in the pocket, I think you will see that he is an inquisitive person, and they will always need something, one line of process or one line of things. They have to be innovative. So yeah, so I think it has been great. I would also want to this opportunity, if my panelist would like to add something more about their career journey, any interesting pointer where they felt, okay, turning point in their career, and how should you actually choose a career of an engineer. What is so important of choosing a career of an engineer, and how do you get to that point for all our job seekers across Malaysia specifically? So if I start with Izwan,
yeah, I think we try to start this. I would say that when I first started my first job, done with Intel, the first 2 years, I mean, I have to be very frank, it was a totally different experience for me, because coming fresh from university, and then I realized that, oh my God, there are quite a number of things of what I've learned in university on theory, it may not be applicable in the workplace, right? And still, yeah, I tried to apply it so much, and realized that, In the words of Yoda, you must unlearn what you have learned, in a way. So I said, okay. So I kind of like opened up my mind to say, okay, I want more new inputs that can help me to deliver my current job. And that's when I realized that, okay, I started to open up bit by bit, started to accept criticism, started to accept pointers and all that. And as time goes by, I mean, I have to thank to my previous engineering manager, Mr. Mong Wen Kun, just to mention. Not sure if Mimi knows him personally, but he's no longer with Intel. Mong Wen Kun. I mean, like, he was the guy who actually identified my talent. He said, hey, I think you're suitable for this particular role. So when I was doing a process development engineer, so I kind of changed my role a bit. It's still engineering, but was more touching base with the people in the operation side. So I'm more in the middle person between the line folks and also the development engineers. So managing the people in the development lines, but at the same time managing the requests from the engineers, because we run DOEs and all kinds of data collection, right? So we need to maintain the line and all that. So I was like the middle person. And that's why I realized, hey, I think I'm pretty good in terms of started to feel like how to manage the stakeholders. I started to find a way to manage the stakeholders. And that's why I realized engineering is not just about knowing the numbers and figures, being IT savvy and all that. No, the soft skill plays quite a very big role. The ability to convince people, influence people, and also able to articulate the message that you're trying to explain it to people is very, very key. Yeah, that's why I realized that, okay, I need to focus more on that as well, not just being too technical. Yeah.
Over to you, Ms. Mimi.
So for me, my initial few years of experience in engineering taught me that the technical theories that we have learned in schools and colleges are the foundation. It's still very important, right? I wouldn't say that whatever that we learn in school is not as useful as you enter the workplace. Those foundations are very important, because if you do not have a strong technical competencies and foundation, you may not be able to even solve a technical problem, right, to begin with. So for those of you who are still in colleges, make sure you get your foundation correct and strong, right? But one very important realization that I have learned is also when it comes to actual workplace, it's way more complex than what our lecturers has taught us in school, right? Things are not 100% within our control, and there are many external factors coming our way, right, that create challenges and gaps that we need to address. So a lot of time, a judgmental call or a decision making will need to be made in situation, right, that we need to weigh the pro and cons of the multiple options of solutions, and then go with the one that suits the current situation the best, right, which may not be perfect, right? So I find as an engineer, one needs to deliver result through people. So it's not only about technical competency, right? So because they are colleagues, peers, and even next level managers that you need to work with to get your job done, right? It's all teamwork. So it requires engineers to get soft skill, right, on how to manage conflicts, and when different team members have different opinions, that's very important, and that's a common situation that you will face in workplace, right? Different people have different opinions, and how do you manage that? How to influence others with data, and how do you anticipate potential risks and challenges, right? Based on your past learnings, and how do you solve problem with different approach, and that is creativity, right? So so these are all essential, and these are the things that we may not learn from university, but you will learn in our workplace. So just make sure that you have a mindset that we will continue to learn, we will continue to upskill, and that you will be successful in whatever roles that you are in.
Thank you so much. I think I absolutely agree with both the panelists. In fact, I would also have my two because I'm a consultant. I also interview a lot of people who are fresh from the schools and who are seeking for job outside world. They keep on asking us the queries, how and why and what's changing and how should I apply? What is one chance that I can put my in the door of opportunities in the world? And I always say that, first of all, know yourself. What exact motivation are you looking for in your life? So yeah, studying is very to people. At times, people do this based on somebody else, guidance. Maybe a father wanted to become a doctor and he could not become. He would like to have his child to become a doctor, and that pressure is on. And similarly, I mean, I have gone through the same pressure. I never wanted to become an engineer. I always wanted to become a merchant navy guy or a navy in that white clothes. But it was always something that I realized over a period of years, that when I started learning engineering, that really helps you to think beyond a horizon. Basically, it's a holistic view of things. So when we used to do calculation in physics, you used to think something not even in the real, you're just assuming it's a probability. It's something which is not there. So I think that was one thing which helped me to realize that, okay, who am I? What is my motivation in life? And what kind of things I would love to do, and learning make myself better every day. Because if you learn every day, you redundant in this dynamic world. So I think that's where the world is going through, and that's where we as people have to adapt. Flexible, adaptability, flexibility, personality. These are the things that I think a lot of people miss. Being an engineer, they think that it is a lab job. It's no job. Those gone are the days, I guess. So it's beyond lab. Hence, people in the world now who's meeting clients and candidates every day. It's about presenting yourself. It's about positioning your skills in a right way. You might not be 100% fit. There's no 100% fit in this world. It's about learning. It's about showing that, hey, I may have only 60% of the skills that you may need for this job, but how that I gather myself as an attitude, the confidence, and of course, showing that you are eager to learn. So we always negotiate these things with the stakeholders that, hey, this role is open for quite some time, so why don't you try this guy? But only when you understand the preconditions of specific job. So, I think that is very important for all the job seekers out there. I would suggest specifically to engineers that think beyond a lab job. It's not a lab job. It's something that it is more articulative, it is more creative, and also intuitive for sure, right?
Yeah, Michael, I just want to add that one. You're right about that, like example, like it's not just about what you want to do, but it's more about, for me, like why, like example, now I'm with B.Braun, right? The reason, I mean, like I was in electronic industry all the while until when I was with J&J, Johnson & Johnson, it was in medical. Then I decided to come back to medical because why? Because like the philosophy itself, right? I mean, like being a part of a team to actually like protect and improve the health of people around the world. That's it. So I know that every day when I wake up, when I come, I say, hey, I'm not just like going to work, drawing out a salary, getting myself satisfied in terms of, achievements, but also like, hey, I do make an impact to the people around the globe. I mean, whoever is using the product and all that. It's just like, it's like a grandfather who was an architect showing it to the grandson, say, hey, granddad actually built this building, and now everybody's using it. It's a hospital, blah blah blah, and all that. So the point is like that kind of thing, feeling there's a purpose in your job actually plays a lot. Maybe not in the beginning of the career, when you're young and passionate, you feel, oh, I want this, I want this, I want that. But as time goes by, you feel, hey, I want to make something meaningful in my job and make an impact to the world. Yeah,
that's true. Ms. Vivi, anything that you would want to add on before that we move on to our proposed Q&A session? Because we have a set of questions. We can move forward if you want to add something to close this topic.
I just want to emphasize, and this is the similar point that Michael, you touched upon just now, that because again, right, I am hiring right talents for Intel, and what we are looking for apart from the technical competencies for engineers is also their ability to adapt to change. I think you brought this up just now. Their ability to learn new skill fast, and their ability to navigate through uncertainties and ambiguities. So these are the things that you don't learn in college, but it's very, very crucial. And this is one of the attributes that we are looking for when we hire engineers in Intel. Just want to call that out. Yeah.
I think all the engineers out there, want to get an opportunity with B.Brauns and the Intels of the world. I think you have got our point. I think it's about not only technical skills, but it is also important to have that. The skills that are intangibles at times where it cannot be put in a paper is known as the job description. So please move forward. I think there is a lot of opportunities out there if you position yourself well. And there are companies who value these skills. And of course, as you have heard from both the panelists, they're working for esteemed companies. They do value these things, and while they hire talents. Okay, so moving on, we have some proposed Q&A session. I'll take you through a journey of like 10 to 12 commonly asked questions or morely questions of job seekers now, which we keep on hearing day in day out everywhere. And I guess compiled all the questions, and we will be able to take it one by one in next half an hour, 40 minutes. And that would be our next session. So, okay, the first question we have received is, if you have to pick one interesting aspect of your current working environment or engineering role evolution in specific, what will that be? So I'll open the floor to both the parties, one by one, wherever you want to pick.
Yeah, I can go first if it's okay with Mr. Izwan.
Yeah,
All right. Okay, so there are many interesting aspects of my current role, right? And if I were to pick one, I would say that as the talent acquisition leader, my role requires me to keep up with the external trend, right? Be it how the technology has evolved, right? Although I'm in HR, but Intel is a technology company, right? And I need to be well equipped with what is happening in the industry so that I'm able to have a very meaningful and effective conversation with my business leaders who are my customers, and also talking to technical candidates, right, who are highly sought after, right, in the market. And other trend that I need to keep up with is also like the candidates' behavior, right? Because how candidates or external talents view job openings before the COVID-19 pandemic versus now has changed, and we need to adjust the way we recruit and attract talents, right? So in summary, this requires me to stay close to the external network, and it create a lot of dynamics and challenges in my team that keep me energized, right? And what I do to keep up with the external trend is to, of course, connect with the talent acquisition expertise and engineers in the community, and reading, right? I read a lot, right? There are many resources and channels out there for you to keep up with the trend. So same thing applies for engineering as well. I don't think an engineer should only stay with whatever technical competencies that they have learned back in school, right? The technologies has evolved so much that it's very important for us to continue to stay close with external trend and spend and invest time to grow yourself.
Absolutely. Mr. Izwan?
Yeah, like my role, the dynamic part about my role is like, if you talk about continuous improvement, especially when you're specializing in Lean Six Sigma methodology, obviously it's about building that Lean and Six Sigma culture in the first place, because Lean Six Sigma is just a methodology with tools in it, just like how you have it in your tools in your garage, right? You use a certain tool for certain particular problems. So I need to be able to actually sell those tools to the engineers or operation folks, right? Or even office nowadays, the office staffs as well. But I need to make them really aware about the methodology. They need to be trained up to be able to understand the benefits and how to actually use it effectively, right? So because like they are like my stakeholder, or some people would say my internal customer in a way, right? So I need to really convince them all that. So I need to keep myself up to date if there's even new tools, like example, well, there are many kinds of problem solving or even innovation techniques. One of them is TRIS, for example. Like back then, I had no idea about TRIS years ago, but then I decided, oh, there's a need for innovation. I think TRIS can actually help. So that's when I myself went for a trace training up to level 2. So start seeing benefits. So I'm able to sell it off to the engineers to start to use it to basically address the issues that they're facing, because I need to make sure they get the right tools, because there's no point for me giving them or teaching them the tools that they don't see the benefit or not solving a problem that they are helping to solve the problems, you see. So yeah, so that's the kind of challenge. And also, and at times there are engineers who actually will look up to me and say that they'll say like, hey, Mr. Izwan, any suggestion? You know, you've seen things, right? So is there anything you feel that we can do better? So that's when I need to be kind of like a bit IT savvy. You know, you need to be up to date with the things of the internet. You know, like that's when discover things like OCR, RPA, for example, right? Robotic process automation and all that. So I just basically connect them with those kind of solutions and all that. Yeah. So
thank you so much. And on that note, I think I would also my aspect of my situation, how it is interesting and how is it changing dynamically. Since we are in a service industry, we are in a consulting industry. So of course we are depending upon our customers. So, and during this pandemic, because the whole world came upside down and nobody expected it, you know, the way it is, and it was a few months back. I think it was a setback, because all your planning strategy goes for a toss. You know, the numbers, and because you're in the sales, of course, your numbers goes for a toss. And you know, the motivation of people sitting at home is something that they never came across. When they were at office, they always used to complain they want to have a holiday. But when they're at home, they used to call me after maybe, you know, a week or two. Boss, can I have a special permission? Can I have a special permission? You cannot have a special permission here because it is impossible. So then I laughingly I asked them question, hey, why you guys used to take an annual leave so you know, when you were working in the office, and used to complain that, you know, it's so boring, it's so mundane. So what happened exactly? They told that living with parents for 24 hours is not also easy. Fantastic. So I think it has changed. We have changed a lot. We were always ready for that, you know, change. I think that was a mindset that we have to work towards it. And you know, and it is always an interesting thing that how your role evolves, because deal with everything. We have to deal in consoling candidates to take some offers, because you know they're insecure about leaving their current job. Of course, managing the client to pull down their expectations slightly, or maybe find a different talent to be ready. The term called technology ready and modern workplace ready. So we give them suggestions on that. A lot of counseling and consulting on the regards of how to move forward, because what has happened we cannot change. What is lying ahead, we have to be ready for that. So I think that was something which is very interesting. In my job also, it was very interesting. So we have all evolved. So I think that is a good sign actually. Okay, moving on to the second question. So let's talk about the opportunities in engineering role for a second. So how does it feel working amongst and with people of different technical backgrounds, cultures and nationalities? What are the learning opportunities that you gain from such interactions and diversity?
All right, I can go first. So so in Intel we have a pretty good mix of diverse workforce in Intel Malaysia or Intel globally as a whole, right? Be it from gender, ethnicity, nationalities, or different industries. So we don't only hire engineers or talents from semicon companies. We just hire the right people in. In fact, one of the key focus area for my team is to hire talents who bring in diversity of thoughts and those who are able to disrupt the thinking of the workforce so that they can bring innovation to increase the business result, right? So just like many companies, we interact with counterparts from different parts of the world, be it in the US, Europe, or different countries in Asia. And my personal experience is I gain so much from interacting with the different people with different cultures and nationalities. I really appreciate their different thought process, right? And how people approach the same problem very differently, right? People see the same problem from different angles, and you may find out that whatever solution that you think are the best for you, but when you talk to people, when you share with people, right, you can find that, hey, I can actually further improve, right? Improvise my solution or my solution, right, to a much better version. So it's part of our common practice in Intel that we will cross-share challenges and problems we face with the team from the other countries and other sites, so that we can learn from each other instead of starting from scratch. Right, and these inputs and insights are all very, very useful for us. So I would definitely encourage that we extend our network as much as possible, be it within your company, right, to the different countries, or even externally, right, to different network, because you will definitely learn something, or some of the conversation will spark new ideas for you.
Yeah, absolutely fine. Thank you so much. Moving on to Mr. Izwan.
Yeah, I agree with Mimi. I mean, like I mentioned, like my first job was at Intel. I can concur with that. We have concalls a lot, and we cross-learn, and also all the other companies that I work with, like AirAsia, for example. I do a lot more on the Southeast Asian side. We have like my peers from Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, Philippines, and stuff. Even now with B.Braun, I'm dealing with the German nationals, right? So looking at the same problem but at a different angle. I agree. So how we obviously there are people who feel like, you know, like in the whole discussion, there'll be someone feel like, no, mine is the best. Someone would just become a follower, and I just follow that kind of thing, you know, by the sideline kind of thing. And someone would just feel that, you know, feel very negatively, say that doesn't want to voice out the opinion because he feels that it's going to get shot down or it's not good enough, right? Or maybe feels that there's no point for me telling because nobody's going to listen to me anyway, right? So it's all about when you're working with these people, different nationality, it's about that need to have that one person to be able to merge all this, like taking the goods of each of the ideas from each person and converge it into a single mind-boggling kind of solution, an innovative solution, because everyone has something to contribute. It's just that they look at different angle. There are pros and cons on both sides, right? But there'll be that one point of convergence. It's about finding that one point of convergence. That is the key important part. So that's why, like, if you talk about in the world of engineering, when you're managing all the stakeholders, right, it's not just about being very, very technical about it, because I mean, it's not. I mean, the good thing about being technical is that obviously you know what you're talking about, number one, but the problem is that there might be that human factor will be in it. There'll be tons of biasness to certain things, right? Rather than solving the problem, but feeling that, no, I need to sell my ideas. I think it's going to work and all that, right? So having that kind of like very observation, and also based on data, obviously, because data do not lie, right? To find that point of convergence is very key, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely concur and absolutely agree with both the panelists here. In fact, I have a story again, you know, as usual, because I'm from a different part of the world, and of course we have a billion population. Every state has a different culture. We have, I think, 28 languages. So you know, we used to know how to deal with each state guy if we have to hire from XYZ, and we would have that thing in back of my mind. But when I came to Malaysia, I was so amazed that a different diversity altogether. There are so many different nationalities in one place. It was a mind-boggling thing. And when we started our career, it was very difficult because, you know, we had no training on how to deal with people differently. So we had a singular way of dealing, a unidirectional way. And whenever we used to start using the same way on each one, we used to get shot down, right? So people may not agree, or people may not give you that information that you're looking for. So I think over a period of time and years gone by, I learned the art to manage each one differently. because everyone has a distinct characteristic of responding, right? So, and also thinking to respond, how comfortable they become, and how much time do they take to become a comfortable in a. So I think one of the art that I really learned, in Malaysia specifically, because you are surrounded by so many different nationalities. So yeah, to actually conclude on this question, I think it is very important and for all the job seekers again to mingle around with different nationalities, to think, buy ideas, learn, be a good listener, and observe, how do they solve a problem or give a solution for some of the problems that you have, and then you can take it forward and build it forward for your future also. So yeah, okay, thank you so much. And my third question, okay, this is very, very common and very I had a few help from my colleagues. So it was, how do you manage the talents from different generations, Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z in an organization? And how is the expectation set with the stakeholders, since the generations have evolved distinctly too? So I will go with Miss Mimi first on this, because she's a director of talent acquisition, managing Intel, which is big. So I'm sure that she would come across this problem or maybe a solution every day.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned that Intel has a very diverse workforce, right, to begin with. And we definitely recognize that. And we evolve in many ways in managing our workforce, right, who think very differently and who bring a lot of individualistic kind of mindset, right, to the workplace. So a few things that we have done. First and foremost, we put a lot of emphasis since a few years ago in building an inclusive work environment where every employee is treated with dignity and respect, feel comfortable bringing their true self to work, and are confident to speak up openly, right? Although their opinions may not be popular or different from majority of the people. So we actually deliver trainings to our managers to make sure that we are able to create this inclusive work environment, right? And we have various channels that we have established that allow employees from the ground to ask questions or to share their opinions to the leaders, right? So it's very common that we have employees just send an email to our site general manager in Malaysia, right? Or even send an email all the way to our CEO in the US, right? About their point of view, about their opinion on certain topic that they find we should change the way we do work in Intel, right? And oftentimes this suggestion will be looked into by the senior leaders, and it's also our common practice that we will close loop with the employees on the action we will be taking from there. Right. So in summary, it's a very open and inclusive environment, so that be it which generation are they from, or which diversity or background that they come from, they are able to bring their true self to work. Second, we also train up our managers on situational leadership. Right? This is a competency for a manager that they will be able to choose the right leadership style for the right people, right? Instead of same approach for every employees in the team. And this is what we recognize as a very important capability that a manager should have as they manage employees who come from different background and different generations. And then last but not least, recognizing there are a lot more younger generation in our workforce now, we have been looking for ways to create a great place to work in Intel. So we introduced a site-wide initiative called Social Club in Intel, like we set up music band, a club for martial art, a club for art and craft, a club for photography, right? And there are about 20 social clubs in Intel Malaysia right now that different employees with different hobbies, they kind of get together to learn and share their hobbies, right? And it's also open up to new employees who wants to pick up that skill or hobby. So for example, my colleague actually signed up a martial art lesson recently from the social club, and this is very well received by the employees, and it's a great approach in keeping our workforce energized and motivated.
That's a great initiative. how about you, Miss Mimi? What have you taken up in the social club?
I plan to sign up art and craft, but I have been delaying on that. A good reminder that I should sign up pretty soon. But I know many of the colleagues around me, they are pretty active and they sign up more than one club, which is good.
That reminds me of one more thing. I was one time handling or hiring for NVIDIA graphics. There was a guy who walks into an interview session in a 5-star hotel with his guitar and a shot. And, there's no dress code for him. He's one of the person who's going for a very senior role, and he just walks in. And, we all get shocked because being recruiters and being the consultants of that job, we were like, oh, how did we miss this to even tell him that you should be suited and booted to come to the interview? And it's a professional way of putting yourself in front of stakeholders. But stakeholders were very cool. They liked the guy, in fact, and I was very, very shocked because we were taught in a certain way that whenever you go and present yourself, you presentable. But that was not presentable. It was like a rock band, as you say, rocking. And does this also matter nowadays when people walk in?
I find proper attire is still important, right? That shows your respect to the occasion that you're attending. So we have certain tolerance in that space, but probably not t-shirt or short pants or slippers. That will probably not acceptable, and that reflect of you, right? How you show up as a professional.
Yes. Yeah. So that is another important thing that I wanted to highlight, because there is a lot of questions around this about dress code being in the modern workplace. There is always a tolerance, as Ms. Mimi pointed out. Every organization actually has brought down the tolerance, but not at the cost of the respect of the organization on the values, for sure, because they follow a value, and you are always a brand ambassador of that company to represent that company outside. So they wouldn't want to compromise on that value when you move out in your customer service or in any other places where you meet the customers and they see these things. So please make sure that you're presentable. Yeah, good to be cool, but you can be cool while wearing a professional clothes also. So moving on, Mr. Izwan, your experience.
Well, it's interesting when you mentioned about the dress code, because I remember during my first early days, I used to have long hair. I used to come with really long hair, and everybody knows about this guy's like very cool. He's wearing t-shirt and jeans because since during the day that I started working when I was at Intel, I used to have, and I still have my own rock band. During the underground craze scene, and we used to tour the UK once. We played on BBC and all that. So like at that time I was so into it, but as time goes by, I noticed that I really should not get carried away with it so much, because what, at the end, people will see differently. People might not take whatever you say too seriously, even with data as well. They'll be like, he's fine, he's cool, and all that, right? So the kind of respect, there's no line boundary, because why? Because why? I can't blame them, because they feel like, how can I respect this guy if he doesn't even respect himself? In a way, he's taking himself too lightly. I would say dress for the occasion. You don't have to dress up to a point that like black tie kind of thing to work and all that, but something that's really appropriate. Neat is the key word here. Neat, and it's presentable, right? So because you are like kind of representing the work that you're doing. Also the face of a department, if you talk about inter-department stuff. If you talk about meeting clients, that's another story. That's even more important. Yeah, so I kind of evolve from that on.
Okay, that's good. So do we see, in fact, any rusty or very pro sessions of you jamming in hard rock somewhere?
Yeah, but basically, this was years ago. I used to perform in hard rock. I was regular in hard rock years ago. But now with the COVID-19, also the live band's putting it to a stop. So
yeah, that's true. Okay, that's good. Thank you so much for your views. I think we can move on to the next question. Okay, who can qualify for an engineering role? Does only technical skills are solely important to get an opportunity? What are the must-haves and good-to-haves in this world to qualify? So I think we have touched upon this in our previous few discussion, but I would just want to maybe spend maybe 2 minutes on this from both the panelists. Maybe starting on with Mr. Izwan.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, like, technical skill, yeah, it's a fundamental for an engineer, no doubt about it. But I see that engineers nowadays, there's another skill they need to equip themselves with, business acumen, for example. You need to look at from the business side of it. I mean, engineers can come up with something like, "What I want this in order for me to innovate this." Hey, boss, I got this idea, blah, 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 blah. Okay, good, good. How much is going to cost? It's going to cost us 1 billion. No one's going to throw 1 billion right at you just like that. Or if you really feel that the idea is really good and you feel it's a way to solve the problem that's being faced by your customers, there's a way to actually kind of like influence people to say, hey, get their buy-ins. This is where they need to look at the end of the day, yes, cost to make it is very important. So you need to weigh between the cost and the effects of the implementation, right? So you need to look at a lot of ROIs. So that's why I said they need to think like a businessman at the end of the day. Just like thinking like, hey, I got a solution, but it's going to cost me tons of money to solve something that is not that, it's going to be like very late in the long run. It's very slow kind of return kind of thing. Yes. So the business aspect of it is also a part that an engineer should actually start to embrace, in my opinion.
Ms. Mimi, over to you.
Yeah, so Mr. Izwan made an excellent point, right? Totally agree with that. I think every employee in a company should have strong business acumen, right? Be it you are in engineering or even be it you are in HR or finance or IT, right? Because it's only when you think like a business owner, you will work on solving the problems mainly from the company interest aspect, right? So that's a very key point. What I want to add on top of that is, again, right, based on my experience, okay, so I used to be an engineer and now I hire them, right? I find that the core competency do not change much, like the core technical knowledge, right? It's still the same. But what has evolved, especially coming from our business leaders' requirement, is they would emphasize more on data analysis capability nowadays.
Yes.
Because the products that we are working on are getting more complex, right? And the complexity involve more data that need to be analyzed and in a much shorter time, right? So we need to use a new tool beyond just Excel and also advanced capability to get a conclusion and recommendation from the data analysis in the shortest time we can. So as we hire fresh grades of be it electrical engineering or electronics or mechanical engineer, those with stronger and advanced capability in data analysis or data science will have the advantage.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, we have been receiving a lot of requests from our customers, get people specifically on this skill specifically on analytics, on certain tools. You have analytical tools like SAS, SPSS, and now it has gone a bit beyond like R programming, and then you need Python also at point of time where you analyze data to come up with a solution. So data has become a very, very key in this whole world now to even analyze the business sustainability. So whether my business can sustain for next 5 years and associated with it. So I think this is a very key point. Thank you so much, Mr. Izwan and Ms. Mimi, to bring up the point of acumen as entrepreneur business. And second is please have a data analysis skill. Find those courses or find those additional certifications which helps you to analyze or upscale yourself to this skill. Moving on. Okay, since life has given us repeat work-life balance being managed in your respective esteemed organizations? Is it improvised in manufacturing environment? So I think I can start with Ms. Mi Mi.
Okay, sure. So I would say work-life balance means a very different thing for different individuals, right? Based on your personal needs. So one person need how they define work-life balance will be different from others. So I would say in terms of manufacturing environment, to be frank, they are still required to work on site. So that's why during this pandemic, right, in our earlier conversation, those who support manufacturing still need to be on site. But for the rest of us, like support group or even design engineering, right, we can still work from home. So for me, what is important for me for work-life balance is definitely flexibility in work hours, right? So that I can manage the busy schedule of my daughters and also my work, right? And Intel is very, very supportive of that, because what is important for us is to be able to deliver the bottom line result instead of how many hours you spend in the office. And that's what I appreciate a lot. And that's also one of the reasons why I stay in Intel for so long, right? And I would say during this pandemic situation, right, where most of us are working from home, Intel also provide benefit to employees to set up home office, right? So we were given certain amount of budget to buy the right items to make our home office comfortable, because this is how we will work for probably the next few months or even until next year. And employees will appreciate this a lot.
Yeah, that's a very good initiative from Intel and very kind for its employees, actually. Izwan?
Yeah, if we talk about having work-life balance, for me personally, I believe that work-life balance at the same time should be it's not something like deserved, but it's earned in a way. I mean, like that, it's a certain kind of, you need to have that certain kind of responsibility and accountability. I mean, for example, like as long as it doesn't interfere with your with the task, your day job, whatever you need to be done. Like example, like I've been playing music for quite some time, actually, I think more than 15 years, since during my days in Intel as well, even until today, right? So, first of all, be frank with your management, saying that you need to declare. Say that it's like I always declare. My management say, "Do you know I have a band? I do this, I do that, and I used to do theater as well." And then they're like, "Yeah." They say as long as it doesn't, we're fine with it. In fact, it's a very therapeutic kind of way, because I mean because if you talk about work never ends. That's a fact.
Yes.
Work never ends. So you need to have that certain time for me time for myself to reboot, the kind of thing, right? As long as it does not like take me to a place where it might divert me from my my responsibility at work. Yeah, so I would say that I agree with Mimi. I mean, like Intel has been like that, very open. That was my experience. Even B.Braun is also looking at, and in fact, I think many companies are very open about that, but on a condition that the accountability of the person. So it's a responsibility that you need to really be accountable upon. Yeah.
Very key point. I mean, I also agree. I've had so many discussions around it. On productivity, we name it specific. So I think it was about accountability. I was always a promoter of quality of work rather than quantity of work. So I always used to have those debatable sessions with my bosses, my team members, where somebody can work in 6 hours, somebody can work in only night, somebody can only use their brain maybe early morning. So they used to question, bro, there is a protocol of 9 to 6. I don't, you know what? I myself, my brain only every weeks, because that's how my brain focuses properly. So I think it was, yes, it was about accountability. It was about the work to be done, which is assigned to you. And it is very, very important that you have this one characteristics, which is accountability, and then only you will earn, the work-life balance kind of respect. In fact, it's more of earning it rather than naming it, as a work-life balance. Okay, that's good. Good to hear these points. Okay, so there are thoughts that engineers are all about theories and texts and the wires and the cables. Are those true? And does engineer require art and creativity in their job? And of course, we have always discussed this point, and there is another question around it, that how does academic study different for an engineer in real practical job world? So I think we have already discussed this in our discussion again. But the other part, the first part, is it beyond your tech and the wires and the cables and the other things, or semicons or the capacitors or whatever? So Mr. Izwan, you can take it forward.
Have I go for it? Yeah, I think it's beyond that. I mean, for me, I always classify a true engineer, because basically what is actually an engineer? Well, engineer is basically a problem solver.
Yeah.
Right. If you talk about problem solving, obviously it can be more than just wires and cables or semicons, wafers and all that. In fact, if an engineer actually were to give an idea, or let's say how to even improve the food of the canteen, to me that is still engineering in a way. And in fact, I mean, things like even like the canteen food quality actually does play a part in manufacturing. It does motivate the people. You start to see productivity. You see, so I would say that it's much more than that. Sometimes if you talk about engineering and leaders as well, and leaders is something that is a role that everybody looks up to, right? He or she who's in the leadership role may not know everything, but he or she knows where to get the answer. Very resourceful and able to drive the team to be able to reach a certain goal that's been or expectation that's been set. So yeah, so in short, obviously it's more than just hardware or software.
Yeah, absolutely right. Ms. Mimi?
So Mr. Izwan summarized it very well. So just one additional point that I want to call out. I think, Michael, you touched on this as well, that engineer doesn't work in lab, by the way. So, and we don't work alone, right? We normally need to solve a problem with people and through people. So there are a lot of art and creativity that you need to apply in that sense, right? So that you can solve a problem in the most effective way with the least cost and also in the shortest time. So it's definitely way more than theory and text or wires or cables or whatever that you can name it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I think moving on, in your personal view, the future is exciting for engineering field? Say so, why? And would you share how engineering role has evolved from day to day since you signed the offer letter? Story around it.
Okay, I can share my perspective on that, right? So your question whether is future exciting for engineering field? My answer is absolutely, right? Because technology is part of our life and it's inevitable, right? It's actually everywhere, right? From a small day-to-day problem to big impactful area like medical and health. And it's a very, very dynamic world, right, of engineering. And again, from hiring perspective, we continue to see very high demand of engineering talents that is in the talent market, right? Many companies continue to hire despite the pandemic situation. That shows the high demand that we need in the market. And even in the degree courses that is offered by our colleges, not only in Malaysia, but also other parts of the world, we continue to see new courses coming out, right? For example, AI or data science or machine learning. And this reflect the market demand. So meaning if you're interested in engineering, it's not only the typical electrical, electronics or mechanical that you can venture in, or even civil engineering. There are way more branches that you can consider right now. The varieties or the options are a lot more because our technology evolved very fast in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. So Izwan?
Yeah, for me, I feel that engineering has evolved so much. I mean, it's gonna be there. I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's gonna be there for a long time. In fact, I think many people didn't realize it. If you learn about history, I mean, engineers have been there since the ancient civilization. I mean, if you try to figure out who actually built the pyramids, I mean, forget about all those other the theories, right, where people come with it. But if you think it from this world, obviously there are engineers who actually built it. So basically, engineers has been there from the whole. And the role has evolved so much to a point that the requirement of an engineer, there's certain kind of skill that you have to pick up along the way. In fact, it's going a bit into the IT side right now, because I mean, if my late father were to still be around today, I mean, bless him for that, he would think that his idea of an engineer is a person with technical drawings and a hard hat. That is how he looked at it. But if you were to see today, an engineer will start to come to him and he'll be sure, are you an engineer? I don't think you are, because you don't look like one, because engineering has evolved so much. Start to a point that like talking about going into like AI, for example. Now we're talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0, Internet of Things, and stuff like that, right? So it's getting more complex in a way. But in terms of the fundamental, the basic concept is still the same. It doesn't change. It's just the application or the approach might be different.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to make a confession here also, when my mom, dad asked me to do engineering, even if you fail in engineering, you can take finance, because everywhere, so that was a paramount way of study, because engineers can go into finance, they can be, you can see engineers everywhere across the industry, from technical to functional.
Yeah.
Tell me that don't worry, do your best and go forward, right?
Right.
So I think we have to quickly, we are running out of time. I think this is few interesting question. There is a lot of buzz, around the world about transformation, automation, robotics, IoT. So I would love to hear some insights about it, and how will it impact the jobs of future?
Yeah, I understand that, because like my role, like I'm a continuous improvement or operation excellence role. Obviously, when you come up at times that when we introduce like automation, for example, obviously there's always resistance, because it's part of human nature. People feel like, oh, my job's gonna be impacted, gone, because they've been doing this, the things that what they've been doing all their life, and so they feel like, oh my God, I have to change, or I'm gonna get retrenched and stuff like that. But the thing is, yes, it may sound like a threat, but that's the way how the business actually moves forward, and that's how actually the world moves forward. Like if you look at even like McDonald's nowadays, there's even like a self-serve kiosk, right, for you to make an order. I mean, who would have even thought about that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right? Right. So the only way how the people can move forward is by upskilling themselves. I mean, they need to get up for whatever they're doing currently and learn up new skills, because there are certain things, certain skills that automation cannot replace. Very difficult. I mean, for me personally, I don't see by when automation can actually replace that. Example like what Mimi was mentioning just now, right? About data and analytics, for example. Data analytics is something very complicated that not any kind of automation can actually do it. I mean, if you want to enable that kind of automation, I mean, there must be someone able to create or teach that automation how to make that kind of analytics. You see, so I think in terms of technology, we're kind of a bit behind in that sense. But however, like I think that all the engineers or any of the workforce should not wait for the day to happen, right? Because it always want to continue to learn and always be 2 steps ahead. That's how you improve yourself, not just as a worker or as an employee, but also as a person, an individual kind of personality of a thing.
Okay.
Over to you, Ms. Mimi.
Yeah, if I were to add on, so we know automation and technology replace manual work, right? That and Mr. Izwan mentioned this, right? Employees will need to upskill and move up their value chain in their roles. And this shift is not only for engineering, it also impact every industry, right? So for example, in manufacturing, we used to use our human eyes to visually check the products for defects, right, in the factory. But now it can be done by technology, right, to screen out the defects instead of human eyes. And in talent acquisition, many years ago, my best recruiter used to be the one who knows the hiring system and process step very well, because this is what the hiring manager needs from the recruiter, because our hiring system many years ago was not that user friendly and it was pretty difficult to use, right? But moving on to today, the hiring tool has evolved, right? Again, thanks to automation and IoT, right? The tool is so simple and user-friendly now that the hiring manager do not need the recruiter to advise on how to use the system anymore. But what they're looking for is consultation, right? From the recruiters on where and how to hire the right talent timely. So this requires the recruiter to step up to learn about the external talent market and know where the talents are very well. So I think in short, a lot of repetitive tasks will be replaced, and as we design new roles, we are incorporating new expectations and areas that cannot be replaced by automation and technology. And for me, what cannot be replaced yet, we will never know, it may be replaced in future, is providing consultation of your expertise to the customer. That's one. And then also more challenging work that involve complex decision making, judgmental call, and also problem solving.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, so that leads us to the last question. I think I would request both of you one by one to tell me the best moment in your career so far that you can tag hashtag #mypenang, my workplace, and imagine submitting a piece of your memory as a competition entry to win hashtag #mypenang, my workplace. What will that be?
All right, so for me, I'm passionate in developing and nurturing my employee, right? So seeing my employee unleash their potential that they don't see or believe in themselves in the past, and how they progress in their mindset and potentials, right? Bring a lot of job satisfaction for me. So how I made an impact, of course, positive impact on someone's career trajectory is one of the best career moments for me.
Thank you so much. Moving on to Mr. Izwan.
Yeah, I mean, might be quite similar to Mimi in the sense of what I like to share with people. I don't know, maybe that's just my nature. So that's why I tend to give lots of trainings, right? I just like to share. For me, it's like there's nothing of sharing knowledge. I mean, some people feel that, very much, I better keep that knowledge to myself. No, I mean, like, and the people appreciate, and the best part, like what Mimi said, you get to see the person actually grow. I still like have meet up with some of my peers or colleagues or my subordinates. After that few years, then they met up with me, or they give me a call. They say, hey, Mr. Izwan, thank you so much. You know, I learned about this, I learned about that, and right now I see the point that to use this in my daily tasks, and it's really helping my team right now, right? So you get to see a person who at the beginning has no clue what to do, to someone who can actually tells you back how it should be done. That's the part, the part I mean, wow, it's like, now he's until a mentor right now from a mentee. So it's nice to be sharing and make an impact on people's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And to share my best moment of my career, it's making people believe in themselves, because that's something that people always have, that self-doubt, you know. Not many people are so confident, and if they're confident, there would be some crossroad where they will have some self-doubt about themselves. So I think that was the moment where there was a lot of times that I was able to make them believe that they can do. It's just the first step, which will be difficult, but the journey would be smoother, because the first step is the most difficult step further to take that risk in their life. And that was something that would be my best moment. Okay, so I think we will go to the closing remarks. Specifically, I will give an opportunity to my panelists if they would want to close this session with some closing remarks, and then I can summarize this. So over to you, Mrs. Izwan, and then I will pass it on to Ms. Mimi for the closing remarks.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that the advice that I would give to all the viewers, basically about the topic, right, about how roles have evolved, right? No matter what happens, there are three things. To me, always about three things. First of all, never stop learning, right? Because once you feel that you're good, that's it, you're not going to improve anymore. That's like the end of line, because there's always room for improvement. That's the room for improvement. That's the largest room actually in life, room for improvement. First one. Number two, always always be open, be very open to criticism, right? Because sometimes you do not see things that what you're supposed to be seeing. So, right, open criticism. And finally, the third one, always, it's more like a combination of three. It's like, be proud of yourself and be confident of yourself. And the last one, love yourself. Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's pretty insightful and pretty true in the true sense that people should do that. Thank you so much, Mr. Izwan, and thank you for your patience also.
Thank you.
Miss Mimi.
Okay, sure. So great mind thinks alike. Mr. Izwan actually covered some of the closing remarks that I want to call out, but just some additional points. So I find that we are living in an ever-changing world, right? The pace of change is accelerating. It's faster than what you want it to be, right? And competition for the right talent is fierce. And talent no longer the same as 5 years ago, right? And in fact, many of the roles, skills, and job titles of tomorrow are unknown to us today, right? So it's crucial that we are fully aware of what's happening externally and also internally within our company, right? And have the growth mindset to upskill and to stay relevant. And I always find it's important to ask ourselves these questions like, what has changed in the market since I started this role, right? What has changed in our customers' business since I started this role? What has changed in the competitors' business? What has changed inside our company? And do these changes require a change in the way my job is done? So just remember, and I hope you will bring this key takeaway right after this session is what brings us to be successful in the past will not keep us continue to be successful in the world we are living in, right? And the formula to continue to be successful is the desire to learn and also the passion to grow. Yes. That's the way of living.
Absolutely. I think that's pretty well said, honestly. I think I would, it's an absolute honor to host you two guys. It's my first time. Thank you so much for your kind patience. And I really thank, Invest Penang and Job Street in collaboration to give me this opportunity to speak to one of the esteemed panelists that I have met in my life, right? Thank you so much for your patience and for your contributions. And I think I will surely mark this up in a summary that what are the key takeaways from this session. It is, I think the first step towards your future should be very, very decisive and thoughtful. It could be any field of study. It could be any field of your life. I think the first step should be very decisive. And it's never too late. Please distinguish yourself where there is an academics world and there is a real practical world. There are things and the key skills which are important. And I think we touched upon that one key word, which is business acumen. Apart from having a technical skill, you must have a business acumen skills, which is very, very important. And of course, learning every day, right attitude towards change in this dynamic world is the key thing for success. Keep upscaling yourself, keep learning yourself every day, and do your work with full of passion. I think those are the key to success, to survive and to grow in this upcoming world. So thank you so much all. I really appreciate, and we should end the session now. We have taken enough time now, so thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.